Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, coming at you live talking about episode 16 of season 2 of ClassicaLoid. And I had a blast with this one. Thoroughly an homage to the film E.T., the Extra-Terrrestrial, Steven Spielberg, which is not one of my favorite movies, but it's one I grew up on and I do have an affection for. And even down to later in the episode, you know, that shot going across the moon in the sky, the full moon, with this mecha that, you know, Beats has created through his music, or, well, not quite Beats, as it were, but I love when they do this. They did this a little bit in the first season as well, when they pay homage to movies, sci-fi, fantasy, and things of that nature. And I like that it's going to carry into the next episode per the PV in a sort of Western format, spaghetti Western format. I'm not the biggest fan of the Western genre, but I am looking mad forward to that as well. So, you know, and it seems like by the narration, maybe List will take center stage, which would be all kinds of awesome. But I loved this episode for its homaging, and it kind of conformed to what I speculated was going to be the case, that there was some outward entity. I didn't know exactly what it was going to be, what it was going to harken back to, but there was an outward entity, and it would have some sort of connection or something like that to Beats, to Beethoven. And that was about all I suspected. I didn't know exactly how it was going to play out, and I love that it called back on the aliens from the first season. One of their own was left behind inadvertently, a la E.T., you know? And so it has to phone home. They even get that line in there. And it does so by sort of, you know, it's like seeking the world until it finds a familiar face, that of Beethoven's, the ClassicaLoid Beats, you know? And it sort of fuses with him, sort of, you know, takes over his body, and is trying to just sort of bide its time and figure its way around, confusing and flummoxing everyone else and freaking them out because Beethoven is not acting like himself, until it can figure out a way to beam a message back to its, you know, its home world or its species out floating in space in that vehicle, you know, the spaceship they have, so that they can circle back around and come back and pick them back up again. And so, like, I just had a ball with that, especially seeing, I don't know, I'm assuming it's the same voice actor who voices Beats normally, who, like, did a much more high-pitched, like, alien voice. Like, I don't know. If so, I commend him. I don't know if that was an alternate voice actor, though, for those segments. But I was definitely impressed by just how alien, for lack of a better term, Beats turns into, you know, like becomes, in that he's almost walking around apish even, you know. I mean, you could kind of say there's a little bit of an homage to Planet of the Apes, because in the training behind the scenes of that film, when everyone was in ape costume, and I'm talking about the 70s original, you know, they kind of, the chimpanzee characters and things would walk on a hunch and drag their arms, much as they would see apes doing in the real world, and they kind of have Beethoven, with this alien having possessed him, they kind of have him in the hunched over, dragging his arms state, his legs are, you know, sort of at angles, and so he's already kind of in that position. And it's funny as hell how Motes is trying to, like, make him a pimp daddy, like, you know. Chopin suggests, because he is the gamer, that, oh, we're going to have to, like, sort of, you know, teach him from level 1 all over again, you know, and try to raise him up and make him what he was, completely missing the mark on what was going on there. But in any case, Motes and Schubert, they both decide to have at it, and they're going to try this. And so every other word out of Motes is opie, boobs, you know, like trying to make him a ladies' man in his own image and everything. And he's dying laughing when he's got, you know, Bates as possessed by this alien doing toots, you know, farts here and there. All that kind of stuff. Schubert is livid. He's, you know, his every last nerve is breaking and being tested by what Motes is doing. But what's really cool is, as you know, like, when the bomb goes off, if you will, in the concert at the beginning of the episode, when this alien first fuses with Beethoven. I thought it was mad meta, by the way, that Beethoven, the ClassicaLoid, is at a concert where they're playing Beethoven music. I just love that. There's something. Where else would you see that? Anywhere in the world, you know? And it made me smile and laugh. Like he's like conducting the music all the while. But when he is fused with the alien, an explosion occurs, and so this rears its ugly head again later, where like a SWAT team comes into the manor house and wants to arrest him because like terrorism or something. And so in order for him to escape with Schubert, Motz actually summons his music to keep the officers occupied, and Tchekhov even does so as well, so that Kanai Sosuke and I forget who was with them. It might have been Chopin. They can follow after Schubert and Beetz, who are making their escape. They stole a bike from a couple riding in front of the manor house. And so they try to get to this mountain precipice where apparently, this alien species is going to come back. And Schubert, everybody, they don't really know exactly what's going on. They think like Beethoven's going to return to the alien homeworld he came from, even though we know, and I think Tchekhov says, but we were all ClassicaLoids created by Dr. Ottawa. So how does that make sense? But they're going along with it anyway. And so they get to that mountaintop. And of course, as Schubert is running, I just had a feeling he was going to get like beamed back up with the aliens, but they'd know to leave Beethoven behind. Exactly, that is what happened. And Beethoven returns back to normal and all this stuff. I loved hearing his Sixth Symphony pastoral, his music coming forth, which turns the bike into the mecha that does that shooting across the moon like in the movie E.T. And, the police are giving chase and all this good stuff. And once that alien returns to the mothership, everything goes back to normal. All the damage that happened to the concert hall is reversed, and in the manor house and everything like that, everything goes back to normal. It would have been interesting to have a sort of cap on the bottle where like everyone forgot what happened as far as the damages goes. Like, what's going to happen next with the police? Are they going to be like, get a radio message? Yeah, remember the concert hall? You're there to get the guy who blew it up. It's all fine now. Just come on back. Don't waste your time. Or will they have forgotten it completely? I don't know. But yeah, so then Shub, of course, is on the mothership, and like a few days later, he returns and he's all robotic. They think it's just him, with a new niche that he is consumed and obsessed with. But he seems to be a robot. He like transforms, a la Transformers. At first, he reminded me of The Day the Earth Stood Still, the robot Gort, with that visor across his eyes, and then he like nukes Motz for getting up in his face. But Kanai and Beethoven are like, it's just Shub. It's just normal for him. And I like what I saw. Somebody commented where I watched this saying, if they don't do like a techno version or an electronica version of some Schubert piece with him being in robot form, they're going to be disappointed. I actually like that idea. I would love to see that. But yeah, I mean, I'm laughing all through this review. I can't keep a straight face because I just had a blast with this episode. And that is the case for every single episode. Even the ones that I'm kind of like scratching my head by the end and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about that one. I still enjoy them. None of them have ever off-put me that I can recall. And this one was just certifiable fun. Again, it did conform somewhat to what I speculated, but I didn't know that it was going to call back on the aliens from season 1 and all that good stuff. And that it's going to transition into like a Western motif in the next one. Oh, that's going to be a blast if this one is any, sort of tipping of the hat to that. Tipping of the 10-gallon cowboy hat, if you will, which this is not, but, it is what it is. And so that's this show in a nutshell. I just love it. It always gets me cracking up. It always has me scratching my head and my eyebrows making a beeline for my hairline, wondering what in the hell is going on, what's going to happen next. And that it was an homage as a film buff, early on in life. I mean, I consumed a lot of movies, sci-fi, fantasy stuff. and E.T. one of the earliest ones, and to have it pay homage to that so directly was really freaking cool. Like, you know, if you're somebody who was watching the show and you didn't have a familiarity with that film, you might be a little lost. But if you did even have a vague idea of that movie, you would catch the little references in the dialogue and the certain cinematic sequences that were, you know, they shot for the episode or animated for the episode, parodying, you know, what you saw in the original movie. And for that, I got a mad kick out of it. I also like how the alien, the little alien, well, all of them really, but the one that was left behind kind of looks like a little Pac-Man ghost. For those who are familiar with that game, it kind of goes hand in hand with the era that the movie E.T. came out in, you know, sort of the advent of video games and arcades, and Pac-Man being one of the first. And here's this little sort of ghostly alien who loves classical music, and that's why he made a beeline for Beethoven when he found him, and that's why the hilarity ensued and everything like that. And so this episode gave me a few laugh out loud moments. There's one moment in particular where Mozart is trying to have Beethoven, who is possessed by the alien, hit on Dvorak, you know, Dovo-chan. And like there's a point where he's like, oh, he may look scary, and Dovo just goes, what, the face just made me laugh out loud. I'm scary, you know. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 16 of season 2 of ClassicaLoid, if you've seen it as well. If it gave you as much, you know, good humor and laughs out loud as it did me, and everything like that. And love it or hate it, anything goes in the comments below. If you didn't happen to enjoy this episode, I'd love to know that as well, and why that is. It's all about having the conversation, and so yeah. Otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.